For more than 50 years, no human has walked on the moon. The last astronauts left the lunar surface in 1972 during Apollo 17. Since then, no human missions have returned to the lunar surface. The moon has remained quiet, visited only by robotic spacecraft and orbiting satellites. But now, everything is about to change. A new generation of spacecraft, astronauts, and technology is preparing to take humans back to the moon. So why are humans returning after half a century? And what is different this time? This time, the goal isn't just to repeat history. Scientists want the moon to become a stepping stone for deeper space exploration. Future missions hope to travel even farther into the solar system, possibly sending humans to Mars. But before astronauts can survive such a long journey, space agencies need a place to test new technologies and learn how humans can live beyond Earth. The moon is the perfect place for that. Its gravity is only about 1/6 as strong as Earth's, which means rockets need much less fuel to launch from the lunar surface. That could make the moon an ideal location for future space launch bases. Even more exciting, scientists believe frozen water exists in permanently shadowed craters near the moon's south pole. If astronauts can extract that ice, it could be turned into drinking water, breathable oxygen, and even hydrogen rocket fuel. In other words, the moon might provide the resources needed for long-term human exploration of space. The missions bringing humans back are part of the Artemis program. The name comes from Artemis, who in mythology is the twin sister of Apollo. This connection is symbolic. During the 1960s and early 1970s, NASA's Apollo program sent astronauts to the moon for the first time in human history. Now Artemis represents the next generation of lunar exploration. But before sending astronauts into deep space again, engineers needed to test the new spacecraft and rocket systems. So in November 2022, NASA launched Artemis 1. Unlike the missions that will follow, Artemis 1 had no astronauts on board. Instead, the spacecraft carried sensors, cameras, and test equipment. The mission used the powerful Space Launch System to launch the Orion spacecraft into space. Orion then traveled thousands of kilometers toward the moon. During the mission, the spacecraft entered a distant orbit around the moon and spent several weeks in space before returning to Earth. The goal was to test navigation systems, communications, and the spacecraft's heat shield during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. The mission was a success and proved that the spacecraft could survive the journey. Now the next step is sending astronauts. That mission is called Artemis 2. Artemis 2 will carry 4 astronauts on a journey around the moon. The crew includes Reid Wiseman as the mission commander. Victor Glover will serve as the pilot. Christina Koch will act as a mission specialist. And Jeremy Hansen will represent the Canadian Space Agency. This mission will mark the first time humans travel around the moon since 1972. However, Artemis 2 will not land on the lunar surface. Instead, the astronauts will perform a lunar flyby to test all the systems needed for future landing missions. The journey will begin at Kennedy Space Center in the United States. The massive Space Launch System rocket will lift the Orion spacecraft into orbit around Earth. After orbiting the planet, the spacecraft will perform a powerful maneuver called translunar injection. This maneuver pushes the spacecraft out of Earth's gravitational orbit and sends it on a path toward the moon. The trip to the moon will take about 3 to 4 days. Once near the moon, Orion will swing around it using the moon's gravity before starting the return journey to Earth. Finally, the spacecraft will re-enter Earth's atmosphere at extremely high speeds before splashing down in the ocean. If Artemis 2 succeeds, the next mission, Artemis 3, aims to land astronauts on the moon again. That would be the first human lunar landing since Apollo 17 more than 5 decades ago. But this time, the mission is only the beginning. Scientists hope to build new systems around the moon, including the planned Lunar Gateway. This space station would orbit the moon and act as a hub for future missions. From there, astronauts could travel between Earth, the moon, and eventually even Mars. After more than 50 years, humanity is preparing to return to the moon. But this time, the goal isn't just to plant a flag and leave. The goal is to learn how humans can live and work beyond Earth. Because the next giant leap for humanity may not just be the moon, but the rest of the solar system. Please like, comment and subscribe for upcoming vid.